Iran's Navy is said to be sending a destroyer and another ship into the waters off the country of Yemen. That's according to Iranian state media. This as the U.S. will deliver weapons on a faster schedule to members of the Saudi-led coalition.
We have to then look at what is happening with Iran, because suddenly this is a nation that tells us that they want to become part of the international community again. They want to create a deal with the United States. They want to be part once again of a trust, if you will. But then again, if you look what is happening in the Middle East, if you look what is happening with Iran, and if you look what is happening with their military and what they are doing, Iran is a nation that, simply put, is taking advantage of America. They are taking advantage of what America leaves behind. That is the biggest danger. Our guest is a retired Master Sergeant in the U.S. Army, 22 years experience in the Army and Navy, 15 years leading the Army Special Ops and Joint Special Ops Task Force. Now a Special Operations Advisor for Concerned Veterans of America. Pleasure to welcome Jason Beardsley back into the show. Jason, thank you so much for being back with us.
Thank you, Ed, for having me.
It is exactly what I wanted to ask you first up. Iran is sending a warship to the seas off Yemen. America's gone. They are now complaining that the Saudi-led airstrikes in Yemen are a mistake. Is it not fair to say that if we are to look at what's happening in the Middle East right now, we need to understand that Iran at this moment waits for America to leave, they wait for an opening, and much like rats, they move right in?
Yeah, this is another difficult story to cover. Once again, we see that where the United States retreats in our policy, we see our enemies taking the advantage on the field. And what we're watching now is not a surprise. We've watched the Iranian influence spread and grow throughout the region as the U.S. policy has been one of leading from behind. This leaves our troops in harm's way, and it also leaves our allies in harm's way. While we're treating our allies with contempt, allies like Israel and Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, we're cutting deals with the Iranian mullahs. These are our implacable enemies.
We now have the Ayatollah Khamenei, who tweets out, and this is the interesting thing about living here in 2015, he tweets to an international audience the fact that he's not happy with the nuclear deal. It's not really a deal yet. It's all something that may not work. Does this not indicate to some people that you can't trust the Iranians, but at the same time, others will say, wait a minute, this is just an Ayatollah doing something that's political and doing something to feed his people and to make sure that they don't get angry with him. What's the truth?
Sure. Well, the truth is we're in the wrong position if we're looking to the Iranian mullahs to help us determine whether this is a good deal or not. These are our enemies. Again, we have blood in the sand from Iranian Shia militia who have killed U.S. forces. So we have soldiers. I have friends that have died at the hands of these Iranian enemy. So when we're talking about the deal or the policy, there's still blood in the sand, even though we're rushing to make a deal on ink, on paper.
But what's the possibility there? What's the possibility, Jason, that indeed there is a deal here? And again, we have to just look at all sides of this, that the Iranians know that there's a deal, that the Iranians want the sanctions lifted. They know that they need the money more than anything else, and that there's the outside chance that this just might be a deal, and all the Ayatollah is doing here is just trying to curry favor with his own people.
Absolutely. Well, we know he is going to do that. And look, the deal on paper that we're looking at, we haven't seen the details, looks to be one that favors, again, an implacable enemy rather than takes the United States' interest. And what we ought to be seeing is what the president and the Congress have agreed to as a good deal for us with U.S. policy. First and foremost, we ought to be taking a look at what will work well for America, not what works well for Iran. And oh, by the way, any deal with Iran is one we ought not trust from the outset. These are our enemies. We cannot trust them.
I have to ask, I got about 30, 40 seconds left here. Senator
Sure.
Tom Cotton has come out and said that basically he's not said these words, but he said, let's bomb Iran. It's no big deal. You've been in special ops before. How wrong or how right is he?
Well, listen, what he's right about is, first of all, we need to take a leadership role. Does it mean bombing? Let's talk about how great America is and what America has for the region. Leading allies like Saudi Arabia and Egypt into a fight, whether it's through bombing or air campaigns or on-the-ground political campaigns, and then it has a place in diplomacy as well. We need to lead the way by first and foremost saying, America is great. Our service members can do this job, whatever that requires.
But is he right to call for bombing? Is he right to call for the bombing of Iran?
Well, someone's going to end up having to do it if they get the weapon. Right now, we're waiting for the Israelis to take the lead on that. If he wants to call for bombing, that should be something that the Congress in general agrees to and that the military backs the
What
plan.
do you think, though? What's your opinion? Is he right, yes or no?
my opinion is if we want to affect their deep, hardened strategies, we're going to need to do something with an air campaign. I don't know that right now it's right to hit them with military.
Okay.
There's other ways to go at this.
There you go. Jason, we're all out of time. I thank you for your candor. MidPoint will continue.